Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming. Tonight is April 10th. Welcome to our monthly meeting of the Monroe City Council. Taking a look around and seeing we're missing a couple of folks. Larry Bradley said he is stuck in traffic in Atlanta and is on his way. Thank you. See, we're missing Mr. Garrett at the moment, but we do have a quorum, so we will proceed like normal. I want to call my buddy Brian Widmer to the front, please. Brian, if you step behind the mic for us. Brian's going to give the invocation for us tonight. He is at Grace Church at the Mill, associate pastor? Youth pastor. Pastor. He said that he apologized for being dressed down tonight, but his prayers work just as well as anybody. So if you would, please take the floor.
I'm a youth pastor. Thank you all for what you do. Let's pray. God, thank you so much for this building and for a place to meet and talk and to battle for the success of our community. Lord, thank you for the men you've appointed, the women that are standing strong. Thank you so much for all the voices. Lord, may they be heard. May they be diligently represented, and may we be good stewards of what we're given. Where much is given, much is required. So let us be the pioneers we need to be for Monroe. Let this county and this community grow based on the voices of the people and the representation that are in place. Lord, thank you for all that you're doing. Bless, give us more ground, give us more success. And it's in the Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate your coming. We need to move to approval of the agenda, please. I need a motion to approve.
So
Have a motion, Lee Malcolm. A second.
Second.
Ross Bradley. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Need approval of the consent agenda as well, please. This goes over all the items that we discussed at our work session last Tuesday night. I need a motion for the approval of consent. So move Ross Bradley. Second.
Second. John, for the mayor, that was Nathan Little.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ross.
It's all right.
I saw a reflection off your head. Thank you, Mr. Little. Mr. Adcock with a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Next, I have a public presentation. We have 3 items on the slate for tonight. First, Lauren Gregory could not be here. She's with, each of you has one of these, A Child's Voice. This is, I'm going to read it. It's better than my trying to explain it to you. Proclamation, City of Monroe, Georgia. Whereas according to the Children's Defense Fund's most recent State of America's Children Report, there were 1,854 confirmed cases of child abuse and or neglect each day in America in 2017. And whereas the Georgia Family Connection Partnership reports that there are 208 substantiated cases of child abuse and or neglect in Walton County in 2016. And whereas in 2017, a Child's Voice Advocacy Center responded to 132 cases of child physical or sexual abuse in Walton County by conducting forensic interviews, forensic medical exams, and family advocacy. And whereas children may delay or never make a disclosure of their abuse, and sometimes formal reports of child abuse are not submitted to law enforcement or the Division of Family and Children's Services. And whereas the Center for Disease Control and Prevention suggests that reported cases of child abuse may underestimate the true occurrence and estimates that 1 in 4 American children experience some form of child maltreatment in their lifetimes. And whereas Darkness to Light reports that around 1 in 10 children will be sexually abused by their 18th birthday, and only 38% of child victims will disclose their abuse. And whereas Darkness to Light reports that 1 in 10 children, just said that. Whereas, according to Darkness to Light, victims of child abuse are significantly more likely to experience emotional, psychological, health, and behavioral issues and are more likely to engage in risky behaviors such as substance abuse, running away, violence, or unsafe sex. And whereas, with a strong support system and effective counseling, children are able to heal from physical and sexual abuse. And whereas children's advocacy centers like A Child's Voice work within the community to spread awareness about child abuse, teach citizens how to recognize the signs and respond to child abuse, and utilize multidisciplinary approach to coordinating care of families, the help of Walton County law enforcement, DFACS, District Attorney's Office, and mental health counselors. And whereas the Child's Voice Child Advocacy Center invites all residents of Walton County to participate in Child Abuse Prevention Month, April 2018. Now therefore, I, John Howard, Mayor of the City of Monroe, do hereby proclaim April 1st through 30th, 2018 as Child Abuse Prevention Month in the City of Monroe, and encourage all residents to become aware of the prevalence of child abuse in our community and to learn how to properly recognize, respond to, and prevent instances of child physical or sexual abuse. In witness whereof, I have hereunto signed my name and caused to be the seal of the City of Monroe to be affixed this first day of April, the year of our Lord, 2018. Mayor John Howard. Lindsay Jones is with us tonight to accept. You want to step up front, please? Calling her Lindsay and a half right now. Would you like to say something?
Yeah.
Thank you
Yes.
so much.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Thank you very much.
And April,
April 21st.
she's going to look a lot different in a couple months. Good luck. Congratulations. Now, I've also asked Ms. Dee Dee Harris to be here with us tonight. She's going to give us a little presentation of the mobile pharmacy. The mobile pharmacy grand opening was in Social Circle about 6 weeks ago, and I think we all need to hear a little bit about it. Dee Dee, welcome to the floor.
Thank you. I'm going to pass these around. If you'll just take one. They basically say the same thing, but they look a little different. So you can take one of each. So thank you, Mayor, for inviting me to come tonight, and
So
I
glad you could be
appreciate
here.
the City Council being
you.
willing to listen to me. I'm here tonight. I represent Walton Wellness. I'm the executive director, and for those of you who aren't familiar with Walton Wellness, we are a nonprofit that has been located here in Walton County since 2011, and our primary focus is to get Walton County to move more and to eat healthier. So basically, that's our mission. And as part of our mission, we have just recently established what we're calling the mobile pharmacy. We purchased a school bus. Purchased it from Cobb County because when I went to Walton County, they said, we would feel guilty giving you one of our school buses. And so, because they are so ragged out by the time we switch them out. So I had to go elsewhere, found a school bus, worked for the past year on repurposing that school bus to be what we are calling the mobile pharmacy. Play on words, Pharmacy. Our message is food is medicine. So the mobile pharmacy is, the intent of it is to be more than just a Walton Wellness thing. We did it in relationship with the Healthcare Foundation, which paid for all the repurposing of the bus. The City of Social Circle actually technically owns the bus, so they are insuring it. However, it is a tool for our entire community. We want to be able to lend it out to different organizations. We want different ideas on how to use it in the community. One of its main first functions is that it supports our free farmers market. For those of you who may not be familiar, Walton Wellness does a free farmers market typically in the summer for the summer months, and we have a membership which we go through a registration process, and it's for financially burdened people in our community, and it's strictly produce. So one of the things that the CDC says, research shows that one of the barriers of people to being healthy is getting affordability and access to fresh produce. So that's one reason why we started the farmers market. We have a farmers market in the City of Monroe, Social Circle, and Walnut Grove. And so the mobile pharmacy will first serve as our farmers market. It's equipped with basket system that goes on the outside of the bus, so we can take a farmers market anywhere. The bus is also equipped with a really large party grill that's kind of slides out of the side of the bus. It's an 8-burner grill, so we can do food demonstrations. A big part of our market is education, not just giving away produce. We kind of say that the produce is the hook to get people there to actually educate them about healthy recipes and a healthy lifestyle. So we do food demonstrations, we give away recipes. The bus is also, on the back of it, equipped with a basketball goal. It has a volleyball net that comes on the side. It's fully electrical. It has TVs that you can play DVD player. So pretty much kind of a party bus. We don't have a deck on top. I think that's about the only thing that we're missing from this bus is we don't have a party deck on top of it. But it has a full PA system as well, and it's wireless. So we do plan on being at the first Monroe Farmers Market on opening day. And I think one of the main reasons why Mayor Howard wanted me to come is just because we want you to be aware that this is a resource, not just for Walton Wellness, but for our whole community. So if you have ideas of your organizations, your churches, or how the city could utilize it, please let us know, because that's what we're looking for. And on the brochure, we have a full website, has pictures of the bus. Unfortunately, I couldn't bring it tonight, but it has pictures of it. So if you're interested in seeing that, as well as we have a Facebook page too. So.
Awesome. All right, are there any
Thank you.
questions for Ms. Harris? She is one of the treasures from the city of Monroe. She's
You're too kind.
married to Wade Harris. Wade and Clay and their father Ronnie have been in law enforcement and in public education in Walton County for as far back as I can remember, and I'm just glad you came
They
tonight.
might not want you to say.
Well, I won't go over some of the things that happened
You
when they
might
were
not
younger,
wanna
but
say.
thank you so much, Dee Dee. I appreciate your coming in. And if you have any questions for her, you need to get in touch. I think we have.
Yep, website is
Contact
on the
information
card,
here.
and you can email me through the website.
Great. Thank you. We'll see you
Thank
soon.
y'all.
Thank you.
I've also asked Brian Thompson to give us a brief description, an explanation on utility rates. Specifically, many of you may have noticed that January our bills spiked quite a bit. February they came back down to normal, which goes hand in hand with January being one of the coldest months I can ever recall having here. But Brian, if you don't mind, come up front and talk with us.
It's a complicated, very complicated subject. Stop me if you have a question. I'll try to break it down as easily and as simply as possible. I'm going to go through this in sections, and then I'll stop and ask for any questions, and that way we don't have to get all the way to the end. If you had a question up front, we could have answered earlier. So Monroe, along with all electric providers, has a power supply portfolio. And that portfolio across the 94 electric providers throughout the state is either owned, leased, purchased, or long-term contracted between either cities or other providers. We here in Monroe own over 90% of our power supply. And that is a good, stable source of power, a good way to have long-term planning for our system. Now, those sources are, through MEAG, in order of importance and number of kilowatt hours. Plant Vogel, 1 and 2, soon hopefully to be 3 and 4. Plant Hatch, the combined cycle plant at Plant Wansley, which is a combined cycle gas turbine plant. Plant Shear, the first coal plant on the list. Plant Wansley, another coal plant. And SEPA, which is the Southeastern Power Authority. It's a federal authority that does hydroelectric plants along the Savannah River. We are a 53% nuclear city. And then with the gas at about 30%. So our coal numbers have flip-flopped with gas over the past 8-9 years. We were 05-06, we were 35 to 37% coal. And those numbers have really flip-flopped when the environmental regulations came on the Plant Shear and Plant Wansley. Just to give you an idea of that impact, the cost of the environmental controls on Plant Shear were more than the purchase of the land, the building of the lake, and the construction of the plant. But it is the most advanced, the cleanest coal plant in the world. So, when you get that power supply, you have a market to sell it to. We have what I consider a good market, small, commercial mostly, very limited industrial. Industrial is great when industry is rolling. That is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You're going to be using that energy. You owe the mortgage on that power plant 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So the more often you can use that kilowatt hour, economies of scale kick in, you can cut that overall kilowatt hour price down. But when there is a hit to the economy and that industry goes away, you can really get flip-flopped in your power supply. And that has happened to several cities, Commerce being one. Georgia Power, they lost 42 substations during the economic downturn, which is a huge amount of substations to mothball. We have a little over 6,000 meters, with 5,000 and some odd being residential, a little over, right around 1,000 being commercial. Most of those small commercial. Our only industrial customers are the hospital and Leggett & Platt, with the hospital not meeting that 1 megawatt per month load normally to be considered a commercial industrial customer. So you see, we're really spread on the residential side. So the housing market is important to us. Expansion of housing is important to us. It's not a high margin area of our business though. We, along with the other 93 of the 94 power suppliers, have 2 different rates. One for summer, one for winter. There's multiple reasons for that, but the main reason is heating in Georgia is mostly done by heat pumps. And heat is a life-saving or a life-giving entity, so you want that power to be cheaper for the people. In the summer, energy usually costs us more because peaking power with air conditioners costs us more. If we have to go out on the market, power can go from 7 cents a kilowatt hour at the plant to 14, 15, even 16 if we have to buy it on the market. We structured our rate to protect our normal average customer. Our average customer runs around 1,200 to 1,500 kilowatt hours a month. So we all, as electric providers, front load that rate a little bit. And by front loading, I mean you sort of spike it on the front end, but we are lower than the majority of the providers in the state. And that's reflected on the latest PSC's rate survey. We're out of 94, we are the 11th lowest in the 1,500 kilowatt market or range. Any questions so far?
No.
All right, so let's get down to what electric bills are. Electric bills are usage. It's all about that thermostat. Every bit of it's about that thermostat and the efficiency of the home. You can get a brand new home today, small home, or an efficient apartment, or even an efficient bigger house with LED lighting, with high SEER heating and air systems. It is going to get the lowest bill you've ever seen. We as a market are having problems with the LED lighting, with the high efficiency homes, in planning in the systems, because we always plan for a certain usage in a home, and you're not getting that in the newer homes. Now, older homes with less insulation, you're going to see, we go do energy audits every week. And we put an infrared camera on, you can watch the heat just pour out the windows. So if that's happening, as long as that unit's running, it's about that usage. It's about that meter turning. Every time that meter turns, there's another one that hits you, another kilowatt hour used. Let me get where I was. The biggest thing, John, like you said, that hit you in February, and it was January usage, but February bill, was, again, I said heat pumps. When you get down below 32 degrees, heat pumps do not work efficiently, and the heat strips come on. Heat strips are resistive heating, and they just make the meter spin off the side of the wall. And that's what people really see, that heat. You get like me, tell the wife to put on a sweater and a blanket, because I can't deal with that. And just to give you some ideas of what our budget is and where our money goes. Our budget for this year, for 2018, is $18,503,513. 68% of that is cost of sales, buying the energy. Right at 10% is transfers, basically a franchise fee to the general fund, which Walton EMC pays and Georgia Power pays them. They also recoup that, though, in a fee to the resident that we do not recoup. Personnel's at 6%, and then admin allocations at 9%. You add all that up, you get above 90%. So we're operating the system on a little over 5%, which is pretty thin margin. And that's about all I have, John. If you have any questions.
Could you explain, our rates start lower, our competitors' rates start higher.
In that average customer, we front load our bill less than pretty much everybody in the market. Meaning that we protect that 1,000 to 1,200 kilowatt customer more than all our competitors.
The smaller, the 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, fixed income.
It's even like, John, that's even turning into the bigger houses
Newer
now
homes.
with the efficiency. It is unbelievable what we're seeing in usage on some of the newer homes. Spray foam insulation, highest SEER heat pumps that you can get. We're seeing those things use the 1,100, 1,200. And that number's not going up. You know, when you look at that average customer, and that's on that report I send y'all every month, what average customer. The only time we've been over that in the past few months was in February, or February billing. It went to 1,500. But it's normally 1,100 to 1,200. And as these newer homes we add onto the system, it's going to go lower than that. It's going to go 1,000, maybe even 900. But you are right. The majority of what we historically have had have been small 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom apartments. The Housing Authority has done a great job of updating all those apartments, re-insulating, putting new mechanical systems in there to help out with that.
Okay, well, I know we all get a lot of questions by the residents of the city and of course the county as well, about why is my bill so high? Why are these other people's bills so low? And what we've come to see is our rates go up per kilowatt hour after they get to the point of non-efficiency. So as you have a much larger house or much less efficient heat pump or insulation, those rates go up, and that's to encourage conservation
We're also very small. I mean, in the pond of electric providers, there's some of the big EMCs that we compete with, the Jacksons and the Waltons. They have well over 150,000 meters. $1 on their meter base charge means $1 per meter, so it could be 150, 200. With Jackson, it's over $200,000 a month. Huge money to someone like us. Not real big to them. So I'm very happy with how we compete with them. And it comes down to, out of 94 providers in that average customer for that February billing at 1,500 kilowatt hours, we were 11th out of 94. I'm happy with that number. I would like to be lower. It's just hard to do with our spread, where we're at in the market. Now, people that are buying on the market now are seeing, our historic past 6 or 8 years, they've seen an advantage because market power has been cheaper. But as the economy turns up, that market power is getting higher and higher and higher and higher. We are protected because we own 93% of our power supply. And hopefully once Vogtle 3 and 4 come on the board, we'll even own more percentage of that. Now, speaking of that, the way the plan, our power supply plan works is not a 5-year, not a 10-year. It's a 50-year plan working through MEAG. And you have to have that supply figured out, all that distance. So by 2035, 36, we'll be at 72% non-emitting, which is just huge. It'll protect us from any other environmental rules that come down the pipe.
Fantastic.
So, Brian, if I am a resident of the city of Monroe and I'm renting a 1960s ranch, brick, it's got the original windows, and my utility bills are just really higher than I think I need to pay. Can I, as a tenant, call and ask
Yes,
that
ma'am.
you do an audit, or
Yes, ma'am.
does the landlord have to?
We will
call?
do the audit and we'll give them advice on what to do. It is between them and the landlord and whether that work is actually
Right.
done.
Okay.
We have had this discussion with multiple tenants that have moved out of apartments or houses that cost a little more per month and they move during the summer months or they move during the spring into a lower cost rental unit. And they were reaping the benefits of that until the cold weather came. And then their bill went out the roof. And we've actually worked with several of them to get them back into the apartment or the home they were in. It's mainly the apartment, the Ashton Points,
Right.
the place out there behind Quality Foods that slips my mind right now. But we do that 2-3 times a week.
Well, and also, that's a free service
Yes, ma'am.
that you offer.
Yes, ma'am. Has to be scheduled, so we have to work with their
Right.
schedule, they have to work with our schedule. But it's usually a week out, week and a half out.
Thank you.
And we would rather do them in the winter. It is much easier to see that heat differentiation. If you got a 20-degree day, and they've got the heat on, it really shows the heat coming out. It's better for the customer to do it in the winter.
Sure. Are there any other questions?
As a point of reference, Brian, you've got the PSC survey.
Mhm.
What number's Georgia Power?
Get that out and read there, Mr. Little. On this, they are 27th.
That's just my point of reference.
Yes, sir. That is one thing to remember. And
I
another thing
didn't
to
hear
remember.
what he said.
Where was Georgia Power on the list?
Okay.
If we were not, when power was, in the 1900s, when people were deciding whether the cities were going to provide power or Georgia Power was going to provide power, City of Monroe would not be a Walton EMC system. It would be a Georgia Power system. So that's just one thing to think about. You would not be reaping the benefits of the 5% transfer without the billing back to the customer. The unbilled utilities at the other general fund buildings, the at cost to the water plant and sewer plant, the unbilled street lights, and all that stuff you would not be reaping the benefit of if we were not the electric city that we are.
Really appreciate your coming in, Brian.
Oh, not a problem.
Probably going to see you about once a year doing this same thing, because I think the knowledge helps us all. Need to move along to public comments. Mr. Patterson is first on the list. Could you give us your name and address, please?
Certainly, Mayor, council members. I'm Harold Patterson, live at 957 Masters Drive here in Monroe. Masters Drive is the only entry off of Ammons Bridge into Gulfview subdivision. There is not any type of a street light at that intersection. So could you share with me who I need to contact or what's the procedure to see if we can get a street light at a very dark corner?
You just did the request. He's in here. Well, Brian Thompson just spoke. We'll have him look into that.
and number on the sign-in sheet?
Yes, sir.
I'll give you a call.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you. Harold is really involved with our Veterans Memorial and has done a lot of work with that and with the Vietnam event that we had last week. Thank you for all the help that you do. I appreciate it.
Thank you. On that point,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to compliment the city. The roundabout has been freshly mowed, really looks great. And they broke ground today to put the reflective pond in the park out there. Starting to move out there.
Great news. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next, Ms. Wilson. Your full name, please.
My name is Joy Morrell Wilson, and I'm a professional Christian songwriter from Houston, Texas, graduated from Monroe area year 2000 here. And I'm desperate for necessary change. I've done some public speaking at City Hall when I was living in Houston. And I thought I'd stop by to officially introduce myself today about some very important things. Topic for 2018 at City Hall, my address at this point is 309 Turner Street. And the topic is concerning positive and productive change. The priority is safety and trust, i.e., I have a business that I'm officially trying to get on the ground called The Grip, DAGRIP. And the slogan is Get One, WON. There's a theme within the structure of this business that I've entitled Meantime Solutions, which is described as equipping for the future with today's resource in order to meet needs codependently as well. Also, to build necessary activity, or rather building necessary activity that provides room for development and growth within the right areas that will bring forth legitimate opportunity, encouraging homeland security and not insecurity for that change. Also, I'm trying to promote a personal business investment venture with a music video that I have you can find on YouTube entitled Survival of the Fittest, written by Joy Wilson, Wilson. Also, Don't Play Church is included with that. Nextly, it is a venture in search of means to gain a generous return in that area for business development facility toward investment in agriculture and construction. I would like to request a grant from someone worth mentioning that to, mainly is what it is, to be able to further my education, to facilitate what I'm talking about. Also, it has to do with resource development for worthwhile commitment toward faithfulness, i.e. I've been associated with Fish Community Center, which stands for Faith in Serving Humanity, for the last 4 or 5 years, as well as some other places that I've particularly become involved with to show that commitment. And then lastly, the goal initiative is stepping stones and not stumbling blocks. Thank you for listening. Have a great day. Happy New Year.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. I appreciate your coming.
Anytime.
Next, we have Emma Kate Goodwin. And Ms. Goodwin, your address, Ash Lane?
601
Great.
Ash
Thank you.
Lane.
Yes,
And my
ma'am.
name is Emma K. Goodwin. I have a proposition to bring before you all tonight. I've been staying in Young Pine 40-some years, been here all my life. But in Young Pine, a lot of them done saw is bricks. You know, just you come into interest, in there they got bricks on each side. And those bricks are demolished and tore down. And I'm trying to see, can I get it built back up? So I brought it before the board to see if anything the city can do. Like build them, get a brick mason and put it back up to make it look nice. Because it don't look nice. Now when you come in that Young Pine subdivision, and I want to see could the board help or anything to get those bricks, they already tore down just about. And a lot of people have saw it, it look bad down there. So I'm trying to see can, like the board can come and send the city down there, or is that the city property? It's right there at the edge of the road as you come in.
I don't know Young Pines. We'll definitely have to take a look at it.
Okay, then.
But I have your number and I'll get back to you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you for coming out. Yes, ma'am. Next, we'll jump ahead. We have Patrick to rezone 603 and 606 Alcovey Street.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor.
Let me grab my.
Old man glasses here. I can't spin them around as well as Brian does, but I'll do my best. All right. All right, this is petition number 1800098 for Shauna and Clayton Matthias at 302 North Madison Avenue. They are requesting a rezone of property.
Hang on. The first public hearing, 603, 606 Alcott Street.
It is, I'm sorry. My apologies. All right, shifting gears. We'll change to petition number 18-00019, Pinehurst Homes LLC. The applicant, Dwayne Wilson, with Pinehurst Homes LLC, requests a rezone for property located at 603 and 606 Alcovey Street. The project has 275.2 feet of road frontage on Alcovey Street and consists of 3.97 acres. The recommendation of the code department is for approval with conditions. It was originally recommended for denial because there were no conditions on the application. They proffered some, then the Planning Zoning Commission has considered those. They're at the bottom of the application page there, and any that you might deem necessary to consider it further. Reading down, I'm just going to continue with the boilerplate portion of this this application. The property is presently zoned R1. Requested zoning classification is R1A. The requested zoning will permit a use that is suitable in view of the use and development of adjacent and nearby property. The change of zoning will not adversely affect the existing and adjacent property. Subject property does have restricted economic use as currently zoned. The change of zoning will not cause an excessive or burdensome use of existing streets, transportation facilities, or schools. And the future land use plan does indicate the property should remain residential. And if you have any questions about it, I'll be glad to answer them. And the applicant is here also to speak for their
Are there any questions for Patrick?
project.
And you said the applicant is here? Hey, Mr. Wilson? Would you like to present any additional information in your request?
No. I think the conditions are listed that we went over with planning and zoning, and I mean, I don't really have anything
Okay.
further to add.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak in favor? Do we have anyone who'd like to speak against? We'll be right back to this in just a couple minutes.
Okay.
Thank you. We have another item in the public hearing, 302 North Madison.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The one I began on a moment ago.
Yes, sir.
Again, it's petition 18-00098, Shauna and Clayton Matthias. They are requesting a rezone for property located at 302 North Madison Avenue. Project has approximately 90 feet of road frontage on North Madison Avenue and consists of 0.76 acres. The recommendation of the code department and planning and zoning is for approval. Property is zoned B1. Requested zoning classification is R1. Requested zoning will permit a use that is suitable in view of use and development of adjacent and nearby properties. The change of zoning will not adversely affect the existing and adjacent property. Subject property does have restricted economic use as currently zoned. The change of zoning will not cause an excessive or burdensome use of existing streets, transportation, facilities, utilities, or schools. Future land use plan indicates this property as well should be residential.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions for Patrick? Are the Matthiases here? Or would you like to come up and tell us anything?
We'll walk up and basically everything he said we agree with.
Okay. Are there any questions?
You've done a beautiful job with that.
Thank you.
And I appreciate all the work that you've been doing on North
Thank you.
Madison. I know you've been getting after it, doing cleanup.
Thanks. I appreciate the email back the other day.
Oh, yes, ma'am, you're welcome. Is there anybody here who'd like to speak in favor or anyone who'd like to speak against? We'll declare that portion of the meeting closed and we'll get back to the vote in just a couple minutes. Mr. Kelly, zoning ordinance code text amendment number 5.
Yes, sir. Last item on the agenda here for us. And it's a text amendment we discussed in the last meeting. It's always pursuant to clarifications, corrections, and augmentation of the zoning ordinance. And this one is pursuant to adding some language to control the number of animals that could be housed in in a particular zoning classification or property size. It was originally in our code of ordinances, and when we lined up our animal control ordinance with the county, seeing as how they do our animal control efforts in the city, it got removed, and this portion controlling these items were not put anywhere else. We're proposing to add them to the zoning ordinance through this text amendment.
So what we're adding just brings us into compliance with what the county already has on their books.
No, actually, this is not,
Or
that's what happened. We kind of threw the baby out with the bathwater. So we're getting the baby out of the yard and cleaning it again and putting it in the zoning ordinance.
Gotta have the baby in the zoning.
Yeah, we gotta get the baby back somewhere.
Thank you.
Yes,
Is there
sir.
anybody here like to speak in favor of the zoning ordinance or against? We'll declare that public portion of the meeting closed. New business, appointments to the Historic Preservation Commission. To reappoint Susan Brown to a 5-year term to expire May 1st, 2023.
I'll offer that motion.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second, Ms. Bradley, for Ms. Brown to continue to serve on the Historic Preservation Commission, expiring in May of 2023. All in favor? All opposed, like sign. Motion carried. I'm glad Ms. Brown is going to continue with us. She's been vital to moving historic preservation forward, and she and her husband Steve work real well with the Monroe Museum. Regarding the rezone at 603 and 606 Alcovey Street, I'll open the floor to council members for discussion.
Mayor, I'd like to ask the people presenting again to come back up and really talk a little bit about what they're looking at.
That'd be great.
Mr. Wilson.
Sir?
If you could just explain the project that you want to
Yeah,
accomplish.
so it's, I mean, it's pretty simple. It's just one cul-de-sac street. The houses would be in line with what's around the retreat at Mill Creek. It's around the same size as the Legends. So I envisioned that the project would be, somewhere a blend of those two subdivisions. Brick or stone front, hardy siding, concrete siding at minimum. Architectural shingles, I think that we added that. My personal goal or plan would be more of a cottage style house. I don't know if you're familiar with, it may be too vague, but I don't have any pictures of it, but just,
I think what you had presented at one point was something similar to what was presented over at North Midland. The 4 homes.
The 4 homes at
Yes.
Ms. Sinclair.
But these lots, of course, would be bigger, but something of that nature.
And how many homes do you expect?
there's 14 lots. I think it'll be cut down to 13 because when it was drawn up, the boxes or the house that the Alcovey surveying did was for 2-story houses, and it would be a ranch. The houses would be ranch houses.
And these would be limited to seniors, is that correct?
No, sir.
They're not limited to seniors,
No.
okay. And would you be the builder?
I don't know. I really don't, I haven't got that far yet. I think ideally someone, I've been working with a pretty reputable builder in Walton County. He may do the project, he might not, but it'll either, I'll be a part of it or I won't. I don't know the answer to that today.
Mr. Wilson, you weren't here last week when we discussed this a little bit. I have some reservations about what you presented to us.
Okay.
And let me start with this. I assume you understand that the city of Monroe is reviewing this whole idea of the R1A.
Sure.
And I expect we're going to make some substantial changes with respect to that. The concern I have about this is not the density. That's not my concern. The concern I have is how do we know that what's going to actually be put on the ground out there is what is in the proposal? Because to me, the proposal itself is confusing. For instance, I'm looking at this section, minimum square footage, 1,700 square feet. I got that. That's locked in. Brick and or rock on 50% of fronts with 3 sides of hardy plank. That's a little vague. No vinyl on the cornices or soffits. That's clear. You're going to have an HOA, mandatory, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. And then a professionally landscaped buffer along Alcovey Street. Architectural shingles, that's pretty much a standard. Explain number 7 to me, development agreement. What's going to be in that development agreement? And why don't we have the development agreement now to look at? What else is going to be in it?
That may be a better question for Mr. Kelly. I didn't put that in there. That was, I think, a stipulation at planning and zoning. Those weren't my words. I'm not the one that added that.
All right. So the other thing I was a little confused about is the numbers that you have seem to jump around a lot. At one point, there's a statement that the price point on these houses is going to be $275 to $300.
Right.
There's another place where it says, well, they're going to start in the mid 200s, whatever that means. I don't know what that means. I did a little math on it, kind of backed out an average lot price, and it looks to me like you're talking about building $150 a square foot, $160. Does that sound right? And what are these houses going to look like? They're going to have garages on the front, garage doors on the front, or on the sides? What are we talking about?
No, again, I mean, it's the best analogy I could give you or frame of reference would be the retreat at Mill Creek or the Legends. The lot sizes are comparable, and you know that type of end product.
In the notes I'm looking at, the reference to the Legends is crossed out. Why is that crossed out?
I didn't cross it out. I think there was it was pretty vague. The Legends is, we'll just say, maybe the finishes are a little more higher end than the retreat at Mill Creek. I mean, they're 4 sides brick. That's basically the difference. We did it with the intention of not being locked into 4 side brick. I think that was the genesis of it being crossed out.
Okay. And what about sidewalks? Obviously, you've got to have them inside the development.
Correct.
Also on the street, on Alcovey, right?
I'm not sure what the city would require, but I'm getting a nod back there, but if that's
The
required.
development regulations would require
Sure.
that.
Because part of what we're trying to work toward as a city is this interconnectivity. We want a community that is this livable, walkable, and those sidewalks are an integral part of that.
Sure.
This one's fairly close in. And I
live in the city.
I want to make sure it's right. I want
Sure.
to make sure this doesn't turn out to be one of these that we don't have an illustration. We don't have a model house. We don't have elevations. We don't have roof pitches. What are we talking about in terms of that?
I mean, again, I don't have all of that together yet. It's just, those are the two most comparable neighborhoods.
All right.
I'd like to be able to give you more. I'm not trying to be, I live in the city. I have a house I have property that touches that would touch that development. I have probably 8 houses within a quarter I mean, an eighth of a mile from that. The end product, you can't command, you know, the numbers I was giving without the product being, you know, very nice.
True. Well, I'll just tell you, what I would like to see is sort of the same kind of thing that we would have if this was being done as a PRD. And of course, under our regulations, this doesn't fit PRD because the acreage is small. But we do have, as I understand it, and maybe somebody can help me with this, we have this provision where we can do a version of a PRD that's more the in-town, center of town, livable centers initiative development that's for the smaller acreage like this. That's what I would like to see come before us before we actually vote on it. Is it possible to do that?
I mean, it could be done, sure.
Because, you know,
Is it ideal?
I'm in
No.
favor of development, but I want quality development. And the city of Monroe, and no offense to you, but the city of Monroe has had a number of developments presented that sounded really good, but then when they got put on the ground, somehow they just weren't what we were told.
Could you, just out of curiosity, could you,
Oh,
do you have an example?
There are 3 or 4 of them around. So if we're gonna do it, I just want it done right.
Sure.
And I feel like we need just some more detail before committing to it.
Okay. I mean,
What,
Okay.
are you saying you'd like to see renderings
I'd
of?
like to see renderings, and I'd like to see a more fleshed out, if you will, development plan. I really want to see what this is gonna look like, and we have nothing.
Well, I will tell you that there has been one that we recently approved, and we had very detailed plans, and it went on the market immediately for sale. And there was I called on it, and I was told that it could be, the land could be purchased. There were conditions that would have to be met, which those would apply here as well. But, you know, I'm not sure that really holds anyone to anything. Am I right?
Well,
It gives us a good indication, but is that something that
I
you
agree,
can?
I agree, the conditions are gonna have to be met.
Sure.
So if he does turn and sell it to that reputable builder, he'll have to follow the guidelines. So at that time, it would be more appropriate for the renderings. Because if they come in and they don't meet the specifications that have been set forth, then they're gonna get a no.
Patrick.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to speak up here at this point. That would all be handled at the plan review in the development phase of it. So if you made the conditions that you were satisfied with and they had to record them on the plat and do the development agreement and get everything ironed out, then they would have to meet those conditions. And that would be what I'd be reviewing the plans by at that time when they do the submission for construction. So whatever conditions, if you did approve it, would be part of my plan review and what they'd be held to going forward.
so regardless of the zoning, they couldn't, me or whoever wouldn't break ground until that plan was in front of you and approved, correct?
If I can just offer a little insight to Councilman Dickinson's question. A PRD rezone would not be applicable in this situation because it doesn't meet the minimum requirements. However, if it were just a few feet over, maybe it's more than a few feet, it would fall within the LCI district where it could meet the minimum requirements. Primary difference is that under this requested rezone, an R1 to an R1A or any other rezone that's not a planned development, the applicant comes forward and says, we want a rezone. with or without details. But under our plan development code, in order for the rezone really to even be properly considered by you, it has to have all those plans and those details up front. I think that's what Mr. Dickinson was getting to is that our plan development zoning ordinance, if that is something that you're looking to for guidance in this situation, what it calls for is detailed plans, renderings, elevations, details about how the development is built, aesthetics, how it looks, and those sort of things. So I just want to make sure I answered that question Mr. Dickinson had asked. Our plan development ordinance does call for that, but because of the size of this development and its locale, although it is close to town, it's outside the LCI, plan development zoning is not available due to the size of the property.
Can I ask a question about the recommended conditions? Because, and if you just pardon me, because this is more of an education on my side too, right?
Yes, sir.
If we approve this with the recommended conditions that they're listed here, he sells the property to a builder, they come in and build it. If it's going to be $275,000, $300,000+ homes, that means the interior, the cabinets and all the bathrooms, kitchens are going to be very nice. But
we can't control that.
But if the builder comes in and wants to just put shabby stuff up, but still meets these square footage conditions and the hardy board conditions, the houses may sell for, $200,000 instead of $300,000. And there's no way to control that, is that correct?
That is correct. The conditions that are listed here, and really even within a plan development district, the conditions are not going to be able to get to the interior of the home. The conditions aren't even going to be able to get to the price points of the home. But these conditions address the exterior. Any and all conditions are going to address exterior structure, aesthetics, and those sort of things.
That's market driven, in my opinion, more or less. And it's going to be down to the numbers that this development is going to cost. And in order for that developer, whoever it is, to make the profit with the market the way it is today and the price per square foot that things are selling for, I think it's indicative that, you could raise the square footage a little bit, but you're going to get to the 275 range very quickly. I'd like to see that there's sod in the front and backyards, some things like that maybe. But I'm sure they're going to probably be front entry garages because of the size of the lots. I wouldn't, but there may be several lots that would allow, because somebody asked that, would allow for a side entry.
Yeah, or if it's determined that the direction we go is for the cottage style house, then it may be a rear entry.
I got another question, Mr. Wilson. Are these 1 story, story and a half, 2 story, what are we talking?
Yeah, traditionally, like 1 story or master on the main with maybe a bonus room or,
Okay.
1.5.
All right. Do we have any other questions? Motion. Nathan, Ross?
Just looking at condition number 5, professionally landscape planted buffer along Alcovey Street in an interest of subdivision. Is there any idea for that, any plan for that, or is that just trees? We're talking about
No, I'm sure it would be you would have some kind of nice brick or stone, for the sign.
Right.
Or entrance way.
Just more of a curiosity than anything. But.
And that would have to also come in front of you, correct, Patrick?
Yes, sir. Just as a comparable for developers in the area, I think it'd probably be very similar to something like, Wellington, or maybe even the outside of Clubside Estates, that kind of landscape plan. It's similar to like what the largest builder in the county is doing on all their neighborhoods. It'd probably be very similar to them. But yes, we would review that and make sure that they had irrigation and proper spacing of trees and all that sort of
Okay,
stuff.
And size of trees and all that.
Yes.
We don't have to delineate that.
And in our the design guidelines in our code book, of course, the sidewalks required in front of the house. Would we have to add that as a condition, add the sidewalk in front of the development?
No.
Running along Alcove?
In front of the development sidewalk would be required
It's
by the
also
development
required as
regulations.
well? Okay. Are there any other questions? Can I have a motion to approve with conditions? And a motion to deny, or a motion to table for further education?
I'm gonna make a motion to table it. I would like to have some discussion with Mr. Wilson. Because there are a couple of other conditions that I know are done on some of these subdivisions in the county, like roof pitches and that kind of thing. I'm not opposed to what you're trying to do. I just want to make sure that it gets done right, and particularly if this property got transferred to somebody else to actually build it out. So there's some things I'd like to discuss with you about those extra conditions, the sodding, the roof pitches, those kind of things. So I would move to table it to do that.
By Mr. Dickinson, do I have a second?
I would second.
Second by Mr. Ross Bradley. All in favor of tabling?
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll talk some more, Mr. Wilson. I appreciate your coming in. Next, the rezone of 302 North Madison. Mr. Kelly? Do we have any additional questions? Any comments? May I accept a motion for this rezone to be approved?
Move to approve.
I have a motion by Mr. Dickinson, a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Adcock. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank y'all for coming in.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Zoning ordinance code text amendment. Second reading on text amendment number 4. Mr. Rosenthal?
Thank you, Mayor. This is an ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance of the City of Monroe, Georgia. The Mayor and the Council of the City of Monroe, Georgia hereby ordain as follows. The zoning ordinance of the City of Monroe officially adopted June 10, 2014, effective July 1, 2014, as thereafter amended, is hereby amended by implementing the text amendments and changes outlined and identified in particular detail on Exhibit A, which such exhibit is incorporated here by reference. Exhibit A, amendment number 4. Number 1, Section 1250.23 sub 6 and 1250.21D, sign setbacks from right-of-way is changed to 0. Number 2, Article 7, Section 700.1, Table 11, building ground floor square footage is changed to read building floor area. Number 3, Section 1250.2, non-residential, remove subsections 2, sub D, sub C, and sub D. Section number 4, Section 700.1, Table 11, add Note 7 under R2, lot area minimum 1, Note 7, minimum lot size for single-family homes shall comply with the requirements for the R1A districts. Articles, number 5, Article 6, Section 630.3, Table 8, industrial zoning, district land use regulations, utility and area service provider facilities, emergency management services, fire, police, ambulance, change from conditional to permitted. All ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith are hereby repealed. These text amendments of the City of Monroe zoning ordinance shall take effect upon their adoption by the mayor and the council. This constitutes the second reading, Mayor.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve Amendment 4.
Motion, Ms.
Zoning.
Malcolm, to approve zoning ordinance code text amendment number 4. Second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Crawford. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. First reading of zoning ordinance code text amendment number 5. Please, Mr. Rosenthal.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance of the City of Monroe, Georgia. The mayor and the council of the City of Monroe, Georgia hereby ordain as follows. The zoning ordinance of the City of Monroe officially adopted June 10, 2014, and effective July 1, 2014, is thereafter amended, is hereby amended by implementing text amendments and changes outlined and identified in particular on detail of detail on Exhibit A, which such exhibit is incorporated herein by reference. Exhibit A, Amendment Number 5. Number 1, Section 610.3, Table 6, Note 7, to be added beside animals, household pets, dogs, cats, and an exception for litters of animals shall be exempt from provisions herein for up to 6 months. All ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith are hereby repealed. These text amendments of the City of Monroe zoning ordinance shall take effect upon their adoption by the mayor and the council. This constitutes the first reading, Mayor.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions for Mr. Rosenthal?
As to the text of this, I said something about it before. It seems like to me that 6 cats in an apartment is too many. We've limited it to 3 dogs.
I agree. I have a real problem with it.
6 cats in an apartment. Man.
Running the risk of saying anything bad about cats, I'm going to be
No, I just think that's too many in an apartment where other people are that close to you and this, that, and the other.
How did we come to that number?
That is our old ordinance. So again, just brief history. When we passed our zoning ordinance in 2014, this left the zoning ordinance because we started over with new. And then the county does not regulate the standard animal control ordinance that we've adopted, which is a mirror of the counties as required under their IGA, does not regulate quantities of animals. So this is at y'all's request, the code office's attempts and efforts to put back in limits on quantities of pets. And so to do so, I believe, Mr. Kelly, correct me if I'm wrong, he took exactly what used to be there. So this is exactly the way it was prior to 2014. So if you want different numbers, then that is y'all's legislative purview to so instruct Mr. Kelly and myself, and we can certainly make those changes. But this is exactly as it was prior to July 1, 2014.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I would make the motion that we change it to the same as the purview for the dogs and make it 3 for the first tier of the apartments, condominiums, and townhomes, and duplex.
This is a first reading, so those changes can be made in between, and it can come back to you for your second reading appropriately.
Do we need to vote on? I agree.
You don't need to vote on it.
Okay.
You'll vote on it next month, and Mr. Kelly can make those changes as requested.
But those changes need to be as part of the public hearing on it, correct?
I'm sorry?
Those changes will need to be a part of the public hearing on this?
No, I don't believe so. I'll be happy to look into that, but the obligation under the ZPL is to conduct a public hearing.
I'm sorry, would you?
The obligation under the ZPL zoning procedures law, which requires the need for the public hearing that you just had under public hearings, is for there to be a public hearing addressing the change. Subsequent modifications to what is proposed would not require the need for a full additional public hearing.
Okay, so we can come back next month with reading 2 with the amended changes. So, Mr. Kelly, you'll make that change for us together?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you. Let's move to the resolution for MGAG voting delegate, please. Mr. Rosenthal.
Thank you, Mayor. Be it resolved by the Mayor and the City Council of the City of Monroe that John Howard is hereby appointed as the city's voting delegate on the MGAG Municipal Gas Authority of Georgia's Election Committee with authority to cast all votes to which the city is entitled. Mr. Rodney Middlebrooks is appointed as an alternate voting delegate. So resolved this 10th day of April 2018. That is the resolution, Mayor.
Thank you. May I have a motion to adopt this resolution?
So moved. Second.
I have so moved by Mr. Ross Bradley, second by Wayne Adcock. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, like sign? Motion carries. Resolution for the ECG voting delegate, please, Mr. Rosenthal.
Thank you, Mayor. It's a resolution being resolved by the Mayor and the City Council of the City of Monroe that John Howard is hereby appointed to serve as the city's voting delegate for the annual Electric Cities of Georgia, Inc. Board of Directors election with authority to cast all votes to which the city is entitled. Mr. Wayne Adcock is appointed as the alternate voting delegate. So resolved this 10th day of April 2018.
Thank you. Now I'll entertain a motion to approve the resolution as read.
So moved.
Motion, Ms.
Second.
Malcolm. Mr. Laird Bradley for the second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you. The resolution for the MEAG voting delegate, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Be it resolved by the mayor and the city council of the city of Monroe that John Howard is hereby appointed to serve as the city's voting delegate on the Municipal Electric Authority of Georgia's election committee with authority to cast all votes to which the city is entitled. Mr. Wayne Adcock is appointed as the alternate voting delegate. So resolved this 10th day of April, 2018.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Rosenthal? I'll entertain a motion for the resolution appointing the MEAG voting delegate, please.
Move to approve.
Move to approve, Mr. Nathan Little. Second.
Second.
Mr. Ross Bradley. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Resolution, our ninth point, the MEAG Competitive Trust Beneficiary, please. Mr. Rosenthal.
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas the city of Monroe is a beneficiary of the Municipal Competitive Trust is amended, and whereas MEAG Powers requested that the city reconfirm the authority and position of the individuals authorized by the city to communicate to MEAG Power the decisions of the city concerning both deposits into and withdrawals from any of the city's sub-accounts created by Municipal Competitive Trust as amended. And whereas the city, after due consideration, has determined that requested confirmation as to the authority and identity of the authorized individuals is in the best interest of the city. Now therefore be it resolved that henceforth the mayor, the vice mayor, the city administrator, and the finance director together considered as the authorized officials are authorized to communicate the decisions of the city to MEAG Power with respect to any deposits into or withdrawals from any of the city sub-accounts established by the Municipal Competitive Trust as amended, consistent with the term of the Municipal Competitive Trust as amended. And further resolved, the city hereby authorizes the authorized officials to execute and the city clerk to attest and deliver certificates specifying the names, titles, term of office, and specimen signatures of the authorized officials and other certificates and documents that MEAG Power may require from time to time to effect the purposes of the trust and this resolution. Only 2 authorized official signatures will be required to exercise all of the powers listed in this resolution. So resolved this 10th day of April, 2018.
Thank you, Mr. Rosenthal. Any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion for the resolution appointing the authorized individuals to communicate the city's decisions for the MEAG Competitive Trust.
Move to approve.
Move to approve by Mr. Little.
Second.
Second by Mr. Adcock. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Number 10, 2017 budget amendment, please, Mr. Rosenthal.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an amended budget resolution. A resolution adopting the 2017 budget revisions for the city of Monroe, Georgia, appropriating revised amounts as shown in each budget as expenditures, adopting the revised revenue projections, and prohibiting expenditures to exceed appropriations. Be it resolved by the mayor and the city council of the city of Monroe, Georgia as follows. Whereas for the purpose of financing the conduct of affairs of the city of Monroe during the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2017 and ending December 31, 2017, the revised budget of the city's revenues and expenditures for such period as prepared and submitted to the city council by the city administrator and so approved by the mayor and city council. Whereas the amounts listed as attached are the appropriations and transfers so authorized by the mayor and city council and are approved for the amounts and purposes indicated. Be it further resolved that the expenditures shall not exceed the appropriations authorized by this budget and that the expenditures for the fiscal year shall not exceed funding available. Adopted by the mayor and council of the city of Monroe this 10th day of April 2018. That is the resolution, Mayor.
Are there any questions for Mr. Rosenthal? Thank you, by the way, Paul. If not, I'll entertain a motion for the full year 2017 end-of-year budget amendment resolution.
So moved.
Mr. Dickinson, second.
Second.
Second, Ms. Malcolm. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. As that passes, we need to adjourn to the executive session. I need a motion to move into executive session. Mr. Bradley?
Second.
Second, Mr. Bradley. Larry and Ross? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We'll adjourn to executive session.